This morning on Today's Health, Nutrition Labels 101.
Dietitian Keri Glassman is here to help you understand what to look for on the backs of your favorite products. She's the author of The New You and Improved Diet. Keri, good morning.
Good morning.
You're going to warm us up first with some questions, see if we know our
I'm already nervous
stuff.
about this quiz.
Right.
Here we go.
Right.
Don't be nervous. I think you're going to do well. I mean, it's confusing. We're all familiar with reading food packages, but between the nutrition facts panel, the ingredient list, and all of those claims on the front of the package, it can be confusing. All right, so your first question is, if something says reduced sodium, how much less salt does it have? A, 25%, B, 50%, or C, 75%?
I'm going for 50%, B.
25%.
You are correct.
Right.
See, I told you were going to do good.
I looked ahead.
Next one.
You
got it.
True, false. True, false. Calorie-free means no calories.
Calorie-free?
Yeah.
False.
How could something be
It's false.
calorie-free?
It actually is 5 calories or less.
Okay.
Now, not that that's such a big deal, but it just really leads to the point that it's confusing to read these labels.
All right, so let's get to one label here that we're going to show you, our nutrition label. Now, this comes from macaroni and cheese, and the first thing we're looking for is the serving size, which I think a lot of people sometimes can be deceived by that number,
Exactly.
right?
The first thing we need to look at is the serving size, because the rest of the information on the label is going to lead back to the serving size. So, for example, we see here, serving size 1 cup, but serving per container here is 2. We've all been in that situation where we've picked up a bag of chips or an individual packaged muffin or something and said, oh, this looks like a serving for me. Meanwhile, you've eaten 3 servings.
Okay, so next is the calories per serving and then calories from fat. What are we looking for here?
Okay, so calories per serving. Here's where the math comes in. I didn't like math, but everybody has to do a little math. There's 250 per serving. So, for example, in this package, it would be 250 times 2 because there's 2 servings in the package. So we've got 500 calories there. Now, calories from fat, I think, is kind of left over when everyone was so concerned with fat. We now know fat does have a role in our diets, but we do need to look at where the fat is coming from, which leads us to our next
label.
one.
Trans are bad, right?
We know the trans fat number to look for that, and saturated fat.
Exactly. So saturated fat and trans fat. Saturated fat, we know, comes mostly from animal products, can increase our risk for cardiovascular disease by raising our LDLs. But there is actually research is going to show, I think, has started to show that there is actually even a little bit of a role for saturated fat in our diet. But we'll be reading more about that. But trans fats, we know we need none of. Here we see 3, but even if you see 0 grams on the label, you must read the ingredient list. Because if it says partially hydrogenated, that means that there still is some trans fats in there. If it says 0.5 or less on the label, it doesn't have to say anything. So,
also something to take note, cholesterol and sodium, of course. We're not going to get into that, but do take note of that. Okay, next let's go to total carbohydrates, and we're taking a look at the label here. 31 grams for, again, the 1 serving. Dietary fibers and sugar also listed here, and the protein as well.
Exactly. Well, fiber and sugars are listed here because those are both carbohydrates. That's why they're listed there. Obviously, fiber is something we want more of. Sugar is something we want to look to avoid. Again, you have to go and read that ingredient list. Looking at the nutrition facts panel without looking at the ingredient list is kind of like buying a house without going inside.
Right.
Because you need to see where like those sugars come from. If you see anything with oats, it's going to be added sugars because naturally occurring sugars will also be included in there.
Okay, nutrients.
We'll quickly get to this one here.
Nutrients,
it has
the next thing on the list, these are going to be things we want to have in here. All of these are going to be listed, vitamins A and C, antioxidants, calcium, obviously many people don't get enough of, so they're going to list the right amounts there.
And let's see now finally to the last label. When you put it all together, we're talking about the percent daily value here. Now, why is this important right here at the bottom?
The percent daily value is going to tell you the amount of each of these nutrients that you're getting for 1 serving towards your daily allotment. And so below 5 is going to be low and above 20 is going to be high. So you really need to put this all together. Don't forget to read the ingredient list, though. Again, you really need to marry the nutrition facts label and the ingredient list to get the full picture of that product.
And don't forget the serving size.
And don't forget the size.
I learned a lot.
Thanks so much.